Yeah. Oh,
Oh my gosh. Okay, so how was your morning?
well, it's been good so far. I now that I'm waking up a lot earlier, working nights for 34 years, I've had to reschedule my internal clock since January. So
Yeah.
I'm getting up a lot earlier now. So
Well,
I'm usually up at least by 7:30.
that is nuts. That
It
is
is.
crazy. Wow.
But it's also given me an opportunity, and I don't know why I didn't do this before when I had more time in the morning, but I now enjoy cooking eggs and bacon one day. I might do pancakes another day and
Wow.
cereal the other day. So, yeah,
Chef Jeff.
branched
I
out.
love that. That sounds so delicious. I would eat all of that right now. I'd
Yes.
eat all of that right now.
Yeah. Now, although finding pancake mix at this point is very difficult. It's
Yeah,
almost
you need
to
to stockpile
toilet paper. It's really crazy.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
People, I love that. People are living their best lives. That's what that tells me. You know, you see all this bread baking that's going on. That's been a big thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I think
Yes.
a lot of people are just carving up. I love that.
It's
I
so
still
true.
have a box of make your own pretzels that I bought 2 months ago that I still haven't done yet. So
You got to get on that.
that's
Oh my
that's
gosh.
on the to-do list.
Y'all are making me hungry.
I know.
And as it's 9:30 a.m., I think it's about time to get started.
I know.
Folks have
You
hopped
should have
on.
eaten by now. Have you eaten by now?
I
You
had
should
my
have.
coffee. I had some coffee. That's such a dad thing to say. Yes.
So
So
I love that.
I
That's a
know.
really good segue, Meg. I love
I
that.
know.
And so, guys, what we're doing today, for those of you, Meg and I have been laughing because I know, especially I have been. I think Meg is way hipper than I am, but I've been kind of living under a real estate rock for these last few weeks, and which is wonderful, and I'm not complaining. And yet, I think it's time for me to come out and join the real world. And one of the things that's happening is that we've had a lot of developments recently in sports. So we thought, what a great opportunity to bring in an expert who we have here with us today. So, Meg, I'm going to let you do the honors of introducing our expert this morning.
I'd love to. So this person that we have with us today, we are so excited to be sitting down with him. So excited he said yes. But this guy has been in sports for over 30 years. He was the sportscaster in Raleigh. He's had a stint in Cleveland as well. And now he's the director of content strategy for NC State Athletic Department. He is from Oxford, North Carolina. He's really good at karaoke, and he's also my dad. Welcome, Jeff Gravley. I should say your name. There we go.
I love
Welcome,
that.
Jeff
That's
Gravley.
exactly
Wow.
right. Jeff Gravley.
Wow, what an introduction.
Thank you. Thank you
Thank
very
you,
much.
And you
Yeah,
nailed it.
well, thank you. We know you're busy. Seriously, we know you're busy. So thank you so much for being with us.
Absolutely, Jeff. Thank you. Thank you.
Anytime. And I brought my handy dandy.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh,
I know
MCKRE
some
coffee
people.
mug.
I know
Wonder
some
where you
people.
got that from.
I love that.
Mhm.
Well, Jeff, here's what I'm going to ask you. I mean, and I know we've got some other questions, but can you just pretend like that we literally know nothing, that's me, about what's currently happening in sports and kind of walk us through like who's made announcements, who's already gone back, are there spectators anywhere, will there be? I mean, kind of what do I mean, I know this is constantly changing, right? But what do we know as of today?
Well, the interesting thing is we've seen professional sports come back incrementally. We've seen NASCAR come back. We've seen golf come back. We've seen the WNBA, the NBA, Major League Baseball. NFL teams are reporting to training camp. Major League Baseball is back on the diamond. We've had soccer professionally being played. And I think the only sport that has allowed any fans back in is NASCAR. And they did it at a couple of tracks, one at Bristol and one at Texas, where they were literally spread out all over the place. It was about 20% capacity. So we are slowly getting back to the norm of things. And I guess the new norm is a phrase that we don't really want to talk about anymore, but it's something that we have to.
Yeah.
Seeing games and sporting events with no fans, I thought would be terrible. I thought it would be brutal. But some of the creative ways that they've been able to, produce these on television, where you've got cardboard cutouts at some baseball games, you've got virtual fans at other games, and I think it's really helped, not just to reintroduce us to sports, but also try to give us something to look at,
Yeah.
to observe, something
right.
we all needed to do since March.
Well, so that's right. I mean, I know in my household, you can only watch The Last Dance but so many times, right? So one question that I have is, Jeff, who are the cardboard cutouts of? I'm just wondering.
Okay, now this is really interesting. I've seen this at Dodger Stadium,
Yeah.
Okay.
where the Los Angeles Dodgers play. I actually have a friend of mine whose son is in the organization for the Dodgers as a coach.
Cool.
So she posted on Facebook her 3 grandkids as one of the cardboard cutouts there. And
What?
yeah, absolutely. So, you know, you never know. There was one baseball game that actually had stuffed panda bears in the outfield. So there's a guy making a great catch, and in the seat, you got these stuffed panda bears watching the game. So
What a fun marketing job that must be.
well, yeah, you talk about recreating a marketing plan. Oh my goodness, it's been amazing to watch
Well,
that.
and Jeff, you know, my mind is immediately saying, oh my gosh, think about all these universities that are losing money on ticket sales.
Yeah.
What if you would reach out to your season ticket holders and say, you know, instead of you know, us giving you your money back, or even, you know, would you be interested in purchasing cardboard cutouts of your family, of your grandkids, of your whoever, and we'll set them up in there? Who wouldn't be pumped about that?
That's
Well,
cute.
you're exactly right. And believe me, Mary Cheatham, college athletics is looking at all of these professional ideas. They're looking at how they've returned to play. They're looking at how they're being marketed. And you're right. Millions of dollars have already been lost collegiately since March when they shut down college athletics. We lost the money that the NCAA tournament would generate. We've lost a lot of marketing money. I know at NC State, we specifically tried to reallocate marketing money in other avenues. I started a podcast with a friend, Tony Haynes. So we attached marketing, one of the marketing plans that we had for baseball, attached it to that.
Mhm.
We've done that on some of the videos that we've been done, is to have sponsorships that moved over from one thing to another. So that's why, I mean, you're talking about being as creative as you can, not just for, you know, fan experience, but also in marketing, as all of you guys have seen. How do you restart a marketing plan when no one's ever had a marketing plan like this before,
Absolutely.
particularly in sports?
Yeah.
Right.
And
right.
as you were talking about universities and colleges and things like that, you obviously work in a college athletic department. And I know this because you're my dad, but I do know you were in the ACC meeting on Wednesday. And I'm curious if you have any insights, any information that you learned there, as well as any other college conferences.
Yeah, this was a big week for college athletics looking at the fall. The ACC decided in football, we're going to play 10 games, conference games,
Okay.
and 1 non-conference game. There are a lot of other stipulations in there, but one of the big nuggets of information is Notre Dame, which is a partial member in football in the ACC, but a total member in all other sports, has agreed to play a full season of ACC competition.
Wow.
They're eligible for the ACC
Wow.
championship. And here's the caveat, all right? They are going to share some of their NBC money with the ACC. That's been a sticking point for Notre Dame as an independent. They have their own television network contract with NBC that they share with no one. Well, now they're going to share some of that with the ACC. So there's the agreement there. The SEC has announced that they are only going to play 10 conference games, no non-conference games. So that affects the NC State schedule right away, because they were supposed to play Mississippi State out of the SEC in the opening week. And then you look at East Carolina, the American Conference has not really made any announcements yet. So, and here's the other thing too, for both of you and anybody that's watching, we made progress this week, but by no means has a decision been made. We are definitely playing sports in the fall.
Yeah.
We have progressed to a point where this would be the new scheduling model that we would use.
Okay.
But do not think that the decision has been made in the ACC, in the SEC, or any of these Power 5 conferences that they are going to play sports in the fall, because that's to be determined later. We are constantly moving the finish line down the road with hopes of something is going to step in there and say, it's okay to go play.
Yeah.
Right. And I guess what they're doing, just like, I mean, you touched on this earlier. So the collegiate sports folks, powers that be, are watching very closely what's happening in the professional sports arena. And so they're checking to see, you know, how all that's handled, not just from a marketing and cardboard cutout standpoint, but from a safety of the athletes and that sort of thing as well. Is that right?
That's exactly right. And the NCAA has given guidelines as to what universities should do if someone tests positive for COVID. They have to be put in quarantine for 14 days. Okay. That's the recommendation. So think of a 2-week span there where you could miss 2 games if you're a player. And then there's the contact situation of, were you in contact with this person who tested positive? Those people have to be tested in quarantine. Some of the guidelines are so convoluted, it's going to be a challenge for the college people to do this. Professionally, they have a little more resources. They have a few more people that are dedicated to this. They have the ability to put people in a bubble, like we've seen in the NHL and in the NBA. Major League Baseball did not bubble people, and we've already seen a spike from one team, the Miami Marlins, that had at least 19 players and staff that had tested positive. The Phillies, who they played, have also had players test positive for that. So there you see the ripple effect. That's the kind of thing that will absolutely scare a collegiate decision maker to death, because they don't want that to happen. But the fact of the matter is, there is no way to control that.
Yeah.
Whether someone gets it or not. And that's the scary thing moving forward.
And Dad, you know, it's so important. I also feel like it's weird that I call you Dad in a professional
That's okay.
setting, but I can't
I'd
call
rather
you Dad.
Dad than Jeff. If you
I
call
like
me
it.
Jeff,
I like
I would
it.
call
I know.
you.
I know. Well, I really like earlier when you were saying how these collegiate powers that be it's not the athletic director making these decisions. They each have a health professional on staff monitoring guidelines and best practices and things like that. That's awesome. I had no clue about that.
Yeah, I mean, and you know, people think, well, it's going to be the coaches and ADs and players that make the decision of when we go back to play.
Yeah.
No, it's not. This is an absolute medical decision, and each school in the ACC has a person on staff that represents they represent the conference. The conference has them as spokespeople. They can, you know, bend their ear. What should we do? How should we do this? To try to formulate some kind of symmetry across the conference where everybody is kind of playing by the same medical rules, even though each area is different in the number of cases they may have or how they're able to handle things. So, you know, that's the difficult part. No, here's the other part. While we made progress this week, I don't want people to think that you're just going to throw college athletes out there and just hope no one catches it, or hope that someone doesn't end up on a ventilator. I think that's a big fear in the college game. Professionally, we've seen kids opt out. We've seen players opt out professionally, and they're not getting paid for that. And we've even seen it in the collegiate game, where this week, one of the top defensive backs in the ACC at Virginia Tech decided, you know what, I'm not going to play this year. I'm going to spend this time to work and develop to get ready for the NFL draft. He just lost his mom 2 years ago to a health issue, and he's like, I just can't do it. We'll see more of that.
Yeah.
I'm sure we will. I'm sure we will as it comes closer. Because at this point, Jeff, I mean, I guess they do have a decision to make because they're starting to practice. Is that right? I mean, so I guess so. Okay, so the time would be that they would make those decisions, but I guess they don't absolutely have to because they're not interacting with folks other than their teammates. Right. Until a game schedule is set and things are confirmed for all that. Are there tentative schedules out for these? Okay. So there are.
There yesterday or this week, the ACC gave a group of, these are the 10 conference games that you will play, but there are no dates on it.
Yeah.
Okay.
There are no times on it. That's going to come at a later date. So again, we keep moving the finish line down the road, trying to gather as much information as possible before making that final decision, like they had to in March when everything was just totally shut down.
Okay, so then as far as the normal start time, like the normal first game of the season for the ACC teams that they're gonna have a football game. That's August normally, right?
Well, it is. That was another part of the ACC announcement this week was they will not start the season until the week of September 7th. So that's a week behind. The SEC's announcement of playing 10 conference games, they're saying we're not going to start till September 26th.
Okay.
So that's even further down the road. Now, the ACC also said, listen, we have the ability to modify and change this instantaneously. Again, I'll go back to that quote. Yeah. If public health guidance allows, they will be playing. But we're not to the point where we can make that decision, or no one in college athletics can. Although there have been some Division II, Division III. We've seen the Ivy League just say, we're not playing sports in the fall, any sports. We've seen several conferences just say, we're not playing sports. I know the MEAC conference has decided not to play any sports in the fall.
Okay.
We're not to that point yet in the Power 5 conferences, which features the ACC, the SEC, the Pac-12, the Big 10, and the Big 12. We're not to that point yet. They're going to take it to the nth degree before making that final decision.
They're going to keep kicking it, right? Keep kicking it forward.
Yeah, and the other thing too, and that's a phrase that we've seen a lot. They keep kicking the can, so to speak, and then they'll go kick it again. And you know I think what they really don't want to do is start this and have to shut it down again.
Yeah, right.
Because that was absolutely painful to be in Greensboro at the ACC tournament when it was shut down. I was with Coach Kevin Keats, the state men's basketball coach, in the lobby getting ready to do an interview with him. He was getting ready to go meet with his team. He goes, we're not playing. I got to go in that room and tell my guys we're not going to play. What to do. You know, and it's been a trying time for coaches, athletes, administrators. One administrator at NC State told me last week, he goes, you know, there have been a lot of heavy times that I've had to just sit there and try to figure out, am I making the right decision? Am I making the right suggestion? So it weighs heavily on a lot of people.
And on the decision makers.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, Dad, going right off of that, I mean, I'm sure there's some athletes watching, some parents of athletes, some former athletes that can relate. I mean, what lessons do you think that these athletes are able to take from this? Because as you said, this is heartbreaking. It is so sad. But
it is.
So what have you seen?
I've been encouraged by a lot of things, to be honest with you, kind of how some athletes and coaches have stepped up and said, you know what, this is out of our control. We got to deal with it and move on. And, you know, this is a worldwide pandemic. You know, and I think it's been inspiring in a way, as disappointing as it can be, you know, having something taken away from you that's done totally out of your control. You have no control over this. It's difficult to deal with. Right, Meg? Tore your ACL 9 games to go in your senior volleyball year at Elon.
Yeah, it is not easy.
How did you deal with it, right? And I think that's the great thing about sports, and this is why I got Meg involved in sports. It's why my mom got me involved in sports. It's what it teaches you, how to deal with failure, how to deal with success, how to deal with, I had a bad day. I'm going to move on. I'm going to learn something from it. And that's, to me, is the value of sports. And so imagine those opportunities being taken away from athletes and coaches. Coaches, you know, they're going to be there for a while. Athletes have a small window to compete. Yeah. And so it's a lot. I've seen a lot of pain, but I've seen some inspirational things too. Like one of the wrestlers at NC State wrote an essay to all of the NC State athletes. And it basically is double down next year, you know, double down next year. Let's go for it. So that was pretty inspiring.
Yeah.
I love that. And it's resilience also, right? I mean, it's also, and Jeff, I know that you spoke to that when I had the opportunity to speak to you for a couple of minutes earlier, that this is a group, I mean, student athletes are by definition a demographic that really have to be resilient all the time. And that's something we don't think about. But I mean, think about just the ups and downs of being any sort of athlete, but particularly a student athlete, right? I mean, just all that comes with being that age.
Right. Well, you know, Mary Jean, you mentioned earlier, you know, we are starting to get back into practices. NC State's first practice, the players report on Sunday, and their first practice is on Tuesday.
Okay.
Students are able to move in. So you're going to see now these campuses start to come alive even more with not just the football players have been on campus, and some of the fall sport athletes have already been on campus at NC State and were under voluntary workouts. But there have not been the total group of, you know, students on campus, over 28,000 students coming to campus. We're going to start to see that across the country. We're going to see students come back. We're going to feel like things are normal again, and we're going to have another outbreak of COVID. It's just going to happen. Yeah. And we got to figure out a way, how are we going to deal with it? And I think that's another avenue that college administrators, presidents, and chancellors are looking at. oh my goodness, this doesn't look good, we can't play sports. Because if I know a lot of administrators feel that if students can't be on campus, we can't just have athletes on campus playing sports.
Sure. Sure.
It's not a great optic. It's not the right thing to do, as
Right.
much as it would cost them from a financial standpoint.
Yeah. Man, that is tricky. Well, before we finish up with some rapid fire questions, with the reemergence of sports coming back on TV, specifically professional sports, what do you think that means for our society or our communities?
It's just giving us a little hope, right? It's giving us something else to do. I mean, we don't have to dig 19 holes in the ground and go replant things. We don't have to, there's some familiarity. My goodness, it's a great way to just relax and take yourself away. It's like the old commercial, Calgon, take me away. Mary Cheatham may understand that. Megan, I know you will.
I do not know what you're talking about.
Oh my gosh.
So it just takes us away to another place, another time where we don't have to worry about a lot of things. Although there are so many diehard fans of their teams that they lose sleep, they can't eat, they get so upset. And so I'm glad I'm at the point where I can just enjoy sports for what they bring me. And so I've tried to sample a lot of the sports that have now reenacted themselves over the last week or so, just to get a sample of what it's like. And the other night I was watching a baseball game, didn't have a dog in the show, but I just wanted to watch and see how it was. And Megan, your mom,
yes,
she goes, "What are we watching?" I was like, "It's baseball."
Duh.
We haven't seen it in 4 months. We haven't seen anything in 4 months.
I bet you we're going to see a lot of that. I think it's interesting how people's, like we were talking earlier about the pancakes and the bread making. I mean, how people's interests have expanded because there are fewer options, right? And I think that's going to be an interesting thing to see. I mean, I might sit down and watch a baseball game. I don't know.
What?
But I think maybe.
Good.
Huh?
But I think the other thing that's interesting about this whole sports conversation is that it feels like it's a touchstone, right? It's not about sports for sports necessarily. It's sports in terms of what does that represent? That is such a part of our rhythm and part of how we gauge where are we in the year, what's happening. Is it football season? Is it, is it basketball? It's all those things. They're a part, they're just woven into everything else that we do and everything else that we know as normal. And so I think that's what's so fascinating about this is, how is all that going to pivot? And you're right, guys, we can't control it, right? I mean, God bless the people that have to make these decisions. Yeah. Because, I can't imagine it. But I think that what we can do is, control how we respond to it and support the people who are most impacted by those disappointments. Because I know those are real disappointments for the folks who don't get to play. And I hate that. And I know that they all feel it's for the greater good. But man, what an interesting time to just watch and try and be as supportive as we can.
Yeah. That was a great wrap up, Mary Cheatham. Wow. I felt that.
I did too. I could tell that you had been listening to Turner that you had on earlier because he really drove that home. Yeah. Have some patience with the people that are making these decisions. These are not easy decisions. They're not just flippant decisions that are made by flipping a coin. These are deep-rooted decisions that are having to be made that affect people's lives. It affects the financial outlook of a company. It's just not made on a whim. And then you throw in the medical part of it, and it adds just another wrinkle.
Yeah, and what I think so fascinating about these decisions, too, that I think about a lot is you really can't win because if you choose to err on the side of caution and protect folks and keep them home and not let people play, not let them go to school, we'll never know what was averted. That's it just feels like, I don't know. I can't imagine the folks who are in the positions to make those decisions. And I know we each make those decisions every day in terms of the way that we protect ourselves and our families and the precautions that we take. But man, just is a really interesting time to think about all of that and to really, I think, trying to support each other as much as we can because it trickles down to everywhere.
Yeah.
It sure does.
Yeah, it is. So, Dad, we have a couple rapid fire questions to wrap up. And I know, because obviously I'm your daughter, that you have some pretty cool things in your past and pretty cool things that you do now. So we would like to ask you a few rapid fire questions. Are you ready?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. What's the coolest sports moment you've ever been a part of?
Ooh, I've got to narrow it down to one.
Yes.
Well, Does it have to be when I was working?
No.
Okay. Well, when you're in school at NC State in 1983, when they win the national championship on a dunk by Lorenzo Charles to beat Houston 54-52, that's hard to top.
So you were in college.
Yeah, I was in college at NC State. But professionally, to be able to see so many championships won, to go to 31 ACC tournaments, 20 Final Fours, to be able to cover NASCAR, to golf, the 99 U.S. Open with Payne Stewart.
Oh, my gosh.
Hitting the putt at 18. I get chills every time I think about that. To see the Stanley Cup paraded into the arena in Raleigh, North Carolina in 2006. Yeah. Are you kidding me? Really? Hockey in Raleigh, North Carolina, and the Stanley Cup? Yeah. So there are too many to narrow down to one, but those are the ones that kind of pop in my head.
Well, going off of that, your favorite interview you've ever done?
I'm going to go with 3.
Oh, my gosh. Rapid fire, Dad. No.
I love this.
All right. Okay. Michael Jordan.
Okay.
LeBron James. And Dale Earnhardt in his private plane. We were flying around in 1990 after he lost the Daytona 500 on the last lap. He had scheduled an interview with us the week after in his private airplane, and we're like, he's not going to do that. Well, he did. And
wow,
I'll never forget.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Dad, what's your favorite sport to play?
Football.
And your favorite sport to watch?
Football. You know why I like it? And here's the thing. I love the Final Four. I love the ACC basketball tournament. I love baseball. But to me, football is the one game that you play one time a week and you deal with the consequences, good or bad. That's why I love watching football.
That's good. Now, what is the biggest lesson you've learned from sports?
How to lose and how to succeed.
Yeah.
How do you accept loss and how do you accept success?
Yeah.
And those are two hard things to deal with, counterparts, one on this side and one on the other. Well, people say, well, it's easy to handle success. For a lot of people, it's not. Mm-hmm. And you can get a real false sense of yourself, whether it's sports, whether it's in business, of if you just reap all of these successes and you don't have any losses. I had someone come up to me many, many years ago, and he said, you know, my son is getting ready to go to junior high. He's played baseball and he's never lost a baseball game in his life through little league and all. And I didn't say this to him, but I was thinking, poor kid, that's terrible.
Yeah.
There's nobody that's going to go through life that wins everything. That kid needs to learn how to lose and how to be disappointed. So hopefully when that kid went to junior high and high school, he lost some games, because I'm telling you, that would be, you have to learn how to deal with, loss.
Good. That's good. Okay, well, those were my rapid fires, and I'm going to.
I didn't answer them very rapidly. Sorry about that.
That's okay. That's okay.
You did a great job.
I know. So, Mary Cheatham, would you like to ask Jeff our final question?
I would.
Great.
Jeff, our final question is, what's saving your life? So this is from a podcast that we watch and that we listen to. We sure don't watch it. That we listen to.
Oh, but I watch you guys all the time, so I know I was ready for the question.
Love this. Okay, you got it. Great.
What you got, Dad?
Yeah, it's easy. It's family.
Yeah.
Because since my new job in January.
Dad! Oh my gosh! Okay, don't.
I get up at the same time as my wife. We go to sleep at the same time. We have dinner at the same time. And, in my business, I miss so many things with my family. So in Meg, being able to see her succeed in her business, thanks to you, Mary Cheatham, to see you guys work together, to see, Mary Cheatham, you will see this one day when your kids grow up to be young adults and they start having these adult conversations. That's one of the most proud moments you could ever have. So what's saving my life? Family, easily.
Why did you have to go down that avenue?
That was really good, Jeff. That was so good. And let me tell you something. You should be so proud of the daughter that you have raised. I mean, I'm going to tell you something. So I know that that's saving your life. And gosh, Meg saves my life also. And so you look at it, and I'll go ahead and go and say, our whole team, our work family is really, my family for sure. And then we had a team meeting yesterday where we sat around because we're interviewing some folks for jobs, and everybody went around and kind of talked about what they love about working together. And it was just It was so special just to hear how much these women kind of support each other. So I'm going to expand on what you're saying and say family and also work family too.
Yeah. I mean, I 100% agree. I mean, we're just all going to go with our saving our lives right now in the same frame. And I love it. Yeah, Dad, I mean, our phone calls, my calls with Mom, just catching up with you guys. And then my work family as well is just hard to beat. Y'all,
Great to be a part of a team.
It is. Wow. That's a great way to end it. Great to be a part of a team. Dad, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you. This was awesome. I feel like that when I see, the next time I see anyone who's a male, I'm going to be able to like carry my weight in conversation. I'm going to be like, let's talk about sports.
That's right. What do you need to know?
Exactly right.
I'm so excited.
That's exactly right. I can educate
cutouts at the stadium.
That I think is our biggest takeaway. That's our business idea here.
Yes.
I'm telling you, that will go.
Yes.
That will go.
Well, Dad, thank you for educating us, for inspiring us, and hope you have a great Friday.
Thanks. Y'all keep up the great work.
Thanks everybody. Thanks, Jeff.